Alright, welcome back. So now I want to tell you about my other really favorite tool in a book, a nonfiction book, and that is the index. And literally, I would just be a mess without indexes. Because an index, well, it's kind of like my best friend. It's actually kind of like a librarian too. Librarians do amazing things to help you find your way. Best friends do too. So imagine, well, remember in my previous video I talked about going to the zoo. Well, I enjoyed the zoo. I saw all kinds of cool stuff. I almost missed the elephants. I did miss the little baby kangaroo. There was a Joey, a baby kangaroo, about to come out of the pouch of its mother for the very first time. And I didn't know it. If I had had a friend who'd been to the zoo yesterday and came home and said, "Hey Heather, look, when you go to the zoo, you got to check this out because there's this Joey, this little baby. He's about to come out of the pouch for his mother for the very first time." I totally would have headed to the kangaroo area the first minute I got there, right? And I would have been checking that out. But I didn't. And again, I wandered around and I just happened to wander through there. And I didn't even learn about all that until it was too late and I missed it and I didn't see it. I saw the kangaroo mom, but... So an index is like a best friend. When you've got something you want to find out, they'll tell you where. They'll help you find that in that whole big zoo. They'll help you find that one really cool thing. So, got another story about, this is about an animal that's in my next book. So I was hanging out on the beach one day beside this river. And this bush started shaking. Like the whole bush, and there was nobody around. I was like, what? So I went over there, and the bush was actually covered by caterpillars. And they were really weird. I didn't even think they were caterpillars at first. But when the bush stopped shaking, and I started to look at them, they each had bent their body up like this with their head way up here and their tail way up here. And out of their head was coming some bubble of grossness. And out of their tail was some other bubble of really gross stuff. And I was like, what? That is sick. I was writing a book about gross bugs. I was like, I've got to put these. I need to know more about them. So I looked them up in a book, identification guide, and I found out that they were this azalea caterpillar called Daytana. I was like, that's awesome. But the guide ID book didn't tell me much about their behavior. So I have this other book. I really like it. It's called The Other Insect Societies. I'm like, well, those caterpillars were all in a group. That's a society. Maybe, I'll be able to find them in there. So I went to the table of contents thinking, this will help. Well, the thing is, if you didn't notice, this is kind of a big book. And there's 2 entire chapters about Lepidoptera, which are caterpillars and butterflies. And that's over like 70 pages. Now, I could go and read those 70 pages, and I probably will. But I really want the answer to my question right away. I want to know about this caterpillar. So thankfully, they got an index. They don't just have one index, they actually have 3 indexes in here for different things. What I knew was I knew the bug's name, its scientific name. So I went to the index that had names of insects, alright? And it's I looked through here. I knew it was called Daytana, so I looked through here, and I'm skimming down here through the C's, there's the D's, okay. Daytana, page 553 to 555. That sounds much better than 70 pages, right? So I'm like, yeah, I can do this. 553, flipping on through. Alright, 553, 554. And I'm just skimming this book, and sure enough, right there in the top paragraph, Daytana. You know what I found out from this book? That stuff, yeah, coming out of his mouth, vomit. And out of the other end, you know what it was. Gross! This creature is so sick. So then, I knew what it was. I knew the basic things. And I read this chapter. And from this chapter, I found out which scientists had been researching that creature. And I could interview them. And I did. And my goodness, how cool is that? I could have read the whole book. And eventually I probably would because I use this book a lot. But I would never get my books written if I had to read the entire book to find out one piece of information. And then next time I want to go back to it, I can just use the index again because I remember what it was. So an index is huge. Man, it's helpful. So, welcome to your new best friend, the index. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to challenge you now to use the index. And you could probably find the answers to most of these challenges in other books about rattlesnakes, but this book I wrote about rattlesnakes called Wild About Snakes, Rattlesnakes. It has an index. It's designed to be used for research, so it's got an index here. And I have some challenges for you. In a rattlesnake, there's a really cool thing called a Jacobson's organ. Alright? I want you to see if you can't use this index to figure out what the Jacobson's organ does. It's kind of weird. Second, now this is only going to be in my book about rattlesnakes. Second is, there's a guy named Gordon Shute that I wrote about in this book. Weird. The stuff he did, oh my, you've got to read about him. What did Gordon do? And last but not least, I want you to see if you can't find out what the Eastern Diamondback's claim to fame amongst rattlesnakes is. What's it do better than any other rattlesnake there is? There's your challenge for the index. Enjoy. Get wild about learning.